Yo everyone, welcome to my predictions and breakdown of the entire UFC 318 Holloway vs Poirier 3 fight card, and this card is a little mediocre on paper, I'm not gonna lie to you, but the main attraction of course is the main event between Holloway and Poirier, and that's enough to get me to watch. I can just tell after this fight though, very similarly to UFC 317, there's gonna be a lot of sad fans regardless of who wins or loses. Before we get into the video however, let's quickly recap the last UFC card and talk about our channel results as well for UFC Fight Night, Lewis vs Teixeira. And if you do want to skip this at all and just get right into my predictions for each fight, timestamps of course are in the comments below. Talking about the card though, the card overall was pretty mediocre on paper, but it performed very, very well overall. A lot of great finishes on the card and solid fights overall. I broke down each fight on my recap and reaction video to the card I posted yesterday. So if you want my in-depth thoughts about each fight, I'll put a link on this video for you guys for those who haven't seen it. But I only really want to talk about the main event and the co-main event in this mini recap in this video because I felt like those fights in particular had some controversy to them. First up, we will start with the main event, and Derek Lewis finished Talison Teixeira in the first 35 seconds of the fight, and like I said in my recap video, my initial reaction to the stoppage was annoyance. I was annoyed for sure. I was yelling early stoppage 100%. I was, no doubt about it. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but being able to watch the fight back and go through the replays of the finish, I actually don't mind the stoppage. Do I agree with the stoppage though 100%? I actually don't, if you would believe me. I think personally, because I watched Talison Teixeira get rocked and then proceed to illegally get himself back up via rock climbing the bloody side of the octagon, he should have been punished for that for sure, and I think after the punishment, the fight should have probably resumed. Like ideally, as tough as the situation is, I think maybe a point deduction or making him start back on the ground again maybe could have been the way to go. Potentially a DQ win at the most severe, just because it was pretty egregious of a foul, and it was a way to escape a ground and pound finish. But it was honestly a tricky situation, and I think I actually prefer the stoppage, and I do actually like the stoppage in the end, because I think it would have been a bit messy. And I think also Talison Teixeira most likely wouldn't have escaped the ground and pound KO finish had he not cheated. Anyways, regardless of all this, guys, great win from Derek Lewis. He ruined my clean sweep of the entire card. I literally got every other pick on the card correct, except for the main event. But what are you going to do sometimes, guys? But now to talk about the co-main event, and I'm going to say it right now for you all to hear. I thought Wonderboy could have got the nod here. I really thought he did enough on damage to take this fight from a very dangerous prospect in Gabriel Bonfim, and this is coming from a guy that picked Bonfim to win, guys, so I'm not biased at all here. I really just think that the third round was a Wonderboy round in my eyes, and I honestly think that the second round was actually harder to judge than the third round in my opinion, even with Wonderboy rocking him slightly at the end of the round. I don't really know. I really actually thought Bonfim could have potentially got the second round clearer than the third round. I thought Wonderboy confidently got that third round, in my opinion. But I did just give Wonderboy the 2 rounds. I gave him the last 2 rounds on damage. I really just thought, although it was impressive how Gabriel Bonfim was able to ragdoll Wonderboy in moments in this fight, he really didn't get off much damage, especially in that third round of the fight. Close fight though, and Wonderboy's still got it, guys. He might be the best 42-year-old fighter I've ever seen at this point, and doing it in the lighter weight classes is very, very impressive, especially at the highest level still is really insane. In terms of the channel results for the card, guys, like I said earlier, we went fantastic on picks. I was 1 win off of a clean sweep for the card, so super happy with that. All 3 bets I had on underdogs. The underdogs were Jake Matthews, Tuko Tokos, and Volta Walker, all cashed, which is just fantastic. I'll be putting the betting guide results up on screen for you guys right now as well, so you guys can see. This is the 3rd week in a row that we've been in profit, so I couldn't ask for more in my opinion. We made around 1.5 units, I think. The number will be somewhere on screen for you guys. It should be at the bottom of the table. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I've recapped the card for you guys there, and the channel results as well. But in the end, we are here for UFC 318, and we're looking to destroy this next card on picks and on bets, so stay tuned in this video for all the fighter info I'm going to be laying out for you guys here. I will also be posting the full card betting guide video for this card later on this week when the bet lines are fully out, so you guys can see all the bets I'm thinking about for this card. And if you want to be a part of the betting guide by becoming the subscribers bet of the week, please go into the comment section below and let me know what your favorite bets are for this card, and I will be taking one person's bet to add to the betting guide for this week. This bet may be a specific bet that I like, or even the top comment with the most likes on the video. If you think you've got a solid bet in mind, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below to be highlighted in the next guide. Anyways, guys, to finally jump into the video, I'll be starting with the prelims and working my way all the way to the main event. Timestamps are in the description and the comment section below if you'd like to skip to any fight in particular. We're going to be starting with the first fight of the card, which is Carli Judice versus Nicolle Caliari. And listen, guys, I know people love to talk shit on WMMA all the time. I'm not going to act like I am pure of this sin either, alright? But both of these girls, Carli Judice and Nicolle Caliari, are fighters that will bring it in the octagon. This is going to be an entertaining fight. I really do think that, honestly, like honest to God, guys. And I also think this is a relatively hard one to pick because there isn't much fight tape on Carli Judice. She's only had 6 professional fights. I can't really confirm if she will be able to stuff all the takedown attempts that will be coming her way from Nicolle Caliari. I do think she has showcased some great offensive grappling though, and can reverse positions in the clinch pretty well, so we will have to see how this goes come fight night. I also think she will have the edge speed-wise and overall technique-wise in the striking department. I think her pressure and her output is what is making me lean towards her over Nicolle Caliari in this one. I just think she's going to end up doing very well defensively with the grappling and edging out a decision win over Nicolle Caliari here on damage. Nicolle is a pretty solid underdog though, because she has decent hands herself and mixes in the grappling very well with great timing and speed on her takedowns. But she just gets hit way too much for me and can be backed up by pressure fighters like an Onesta Karakate, who actually has beaten both of these girls as well, by the way, fun fact. Carli Judice is the pick here, but this fight is a close one. Maybe I might bet on this one to go to decision, but nothing else. Moving on to Brunno Ferreira versus Jackson McVey. And this is a sick fight, guys, but I do wish it was under a different set of circumstances because Jackson McVey, if some of you didn't even know, was meant to make his UFC debut last month. He cut weight for that fight until his opponent, Cedricus Dumas, pulled out of that fight. He then had a complete last-second backup opponent, cut weight again, I believe. And then Christopher Ewart, who was his backup opponent, also had weight-cutting issues and couldn't fight him. So they probably just went to this dude, and who I'm talking about is the UFC, and they probably said, hey man, you want a high-ish ranked opponent? We can give you one in like 3 weeks' time if you want to fight. And Jackson McVey, probably being eager to join the UFC and please the UFC, probably just said, fuck it, I'm in. And I respect the balls on the dude, but this is such a tough fucking debut and an extremely dangerous debut above everything else. And without a full training camp that was made to properly peak for this fight and opponent, I am very worried for Jackson McVey here, and I will be going with Brunno Ferreira to get it done, most likely by KO as well. Jackson McVey is a finishing machine though, but I do think that's going to be to his detriment stylistically, just because he's kind of the marauder type who doesn't mind walking forward and getting into the clinch and taking a couple of shots, and Brunno is one of the hardest hitters in the weight class. Brunno Ferreira by KO is my prediction for this fight. I hope it's not too vicious since the dude is still young and improving. But I will say this, guys. If he manages to win this fight, like very crazily by finish, you have a fan for life, Jackson McVey. I'll take the day one ticket right here. What can I say, guys? I like the kid. I did pick him to win both of those previous fights that were scheduled, and he was the underdog in both of them. So moving on though to the next fight up the card, which is Ryan Spann versus Lucas Bursky. The fact that Lucas Bursky is the one to have a win over Walter Walker is just insane to me. This guy literally can't get a win in any other fight, but he can get a win over Walter Walker. This shit is just too funny sometimes, guys. This is a dead even split for me, though, for who wins this fight. It's going to be who's going to sell first, in my opinion. If you guys know what selling means, a bit of young guy lingo for you there. I'm not going to say I'm young myself, but I'm not going to lie to you. Both these guys can be a little bit sloppy, though, if I'm getting back on track. And they both have a propensity for getting knocked out as of recent in their careers. And I think this will end up being a bit sloppy of a fight. And I do think I'll be edging my pick towards Ryan Spann just because of the ground game advantage and just because I think he'll be a little less sloppy than Lucas Bursky. This is not going to be a bet, though. Maybe there might be some sort of bet to go inside the distance, potentially, if that's what you're looking for. But Ryan Spann will be the pick here, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Bursky get the KO somehow. Moving on to Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Prachnio. And this is me boy, Jimmy Crute, fighting again. And Jesus, buddy, we need a win bad at this point, and I feel like we fumbled the bag against Rodolfo Bellato in his last fight. Should have been a relatively easy win against a decent opponent if he kept his foot on the gas a little bit more, especially after the first round, but nonetheless, I'm riding with Jimmy Crute here again. One more bloody time, lads, come on. It's mostly because he's Aussie. I'm trolling, though, of course. It's mostly because he's going to have the grappling advantage if he does actually shoot takedowns a lot in this fight, and Marcin is a sitting duck on the ground, just waiting to get submitted. I could even see Jimmy doing well on the feet, but the takedown game plan and using the grappling advantage over someone who can't grapple will always be the best course of action, the smartest course of action. Jimmy Crute is the pick. Let's not throw this fight, please. Moving on to Adam Fugitt versus Islam Dulatov, and this is going to be a pretty quick pick here. Even though Islam Dulatov is relatively untested inside the UFC, coming off that win on the Contender Series, I still think he should be able to get this one done against Adam Fugitt in this matchup. He seems to be pretty hard-hitting as a technical striker as far as his highlights show of him, and I think someone like that with decent takedown defense should be able to beat Adam Fugitt and potentially get the finish in this fight as well, since Adam Fugitt does not have the greatest head movement. And you know what, I actually want to correct myself a little bit here. He does actually move his head, but it's mostly ducks, and he also technically keeps his head on the center line. That's why I said he doesn't have the best head movement. And he's very reliant on parrying with his hands whatever comes his way in the form of striking defense. So that's what I'm trying to get at here. Guys, he's just gets hit a little too much for me. Dulatov hasn't been brought into the later rounds before, so I wonder how he will do against Adam Fugitt if they go past the first couple of rounds. But regardless, I am going to go with Islam Dulatov in this fight, I think by KO as well in the first or second round. Moving on to Ateba Gautier versus Robert Valentin, and I like Robert Valentin, guys. I actually picked him to win his last fight against Torres Finney as a massive underdog, by the way, and he arguably won that fight. I'll stick by that. He arguably won that fight against Torres Finney, who was trying to make this like a world record for the most boring UFC fight ever. But regardless of that, I am worried for Robert Valentin in this matchup. It's a completely different opponent, completely different style, and a way more technically sound opponent in the striking, who will also be viciously powerful on top of it all. Ateba Gautier is big. He's rangy for the weight class too. I'm just thinking this might be a little too much to handle for Robert Valentin. My official prediction for this fight is Ateba Gautier by KO or decision. I think he's going to cause too many problems early on for Robert Valentin in the striking, and he's going to be able to hurt him sometime inside the first 2 rounds, regardless if there is a finish or not in this fight. If Robert Valentin can try to use his grappling from the get-go and try to tire out Ateba Gautier so he can try to come on strong in the 3rd round, that might be the play, since we don't really know how Ateba deals with getting taken into deep waters because he's been knocking everybody out inside the first 2 rounds. But tough fight for Robert Valentin. Ateba Gautier is the pick. This will be a good test to see how good he really is. Moving on to Francisco Prado versus Nikolay Veretennikov. And honestly, this fight is a tough one to pick. Both guys have done a lot of losing inside the UFC. I think Francisco Prado is the only one that has a win inside the UFC. Both him and Nikolay Veretennikov have 2 losses inside the UFC. It's not to say that they're bad fighters, though. I actually think it's a combination of like tough UFC opponents to a degree, and the fact that the UFC's level is higher than the regional scene in general. But that's pretty much it. I do see a lot of people going with the younger fighter in Francisco Prado in this one. But man, he still has got such a small frame for the welterweight division, and he also still has the same issue of slowing down later on in his fights, and I could see Francisco Prado getting the win for sure, guys. I could see it by finding the KO or potentially using his wrestling off rip in this fight against Veretennikov, since we just watched Austin Vanderford dominate Veretennikov with his wrestling to get a finish. But Prado doesn't go for too many takedowns in his fights and does like to stand and trade, especially in the early rounds of his fights. And I know it's a little stupid to say, after watching Austin Vandervoort do what he did against Veretennikov using his grappling, but I actually think that Nikolay Veretennikov isn't absolutely atrocious with his takedown defense. I keep looking at his performance overall against a tough fighter in Danny Barlow, avoiding trips, stuffing some takedowns, getting out of some clinches, and I'm like, this guy should be able to win this fight. I really do think so, but I will say this, if Veretennikov loses this fight and is somehow dominated on the ground again by like someone like Francisco Prado this time around, I'll probably never pick this guy again to win another fight, especially if the guy he's versing next has shot one takedown in his entire UFC career. I'm picking Nikolay Veretennikov as the underdog here. Close one though. Moving on to Marvin Vettori versus Brendan Allen. And this one is a really interesting one for me because I've been saying all week to myself that Brendan Allen is the more skilled guy. Marvin doesn't really have anything that stands out to me, guys. Shouldn't the more skilled fighter win, is what I've been saying to myself, right? And the answer I'm coming to that question, which was shouldn't the more skilled fighter win, is actually no, would you believe it? And you might say, Larry, that's dumb as fuck, and you're dumb as fuck as well. And I would agree with you almost every time, would you believe it? But stylistically, this is a very close fight, and I'm thinking I could see Vettori edging a decision in this matchup because of his activity. Brendan Allen, as skilled as he is, has made some poor in-fight decision-making recently, especially in his fight against Nassourdine Imavov, and in a fight where I don't think it will end up going to the ground because Marvin's got such solid takedown defense and he's a decent wrestler himself. I think Brendan Allen left on the feet will most likely lack a lot of output compared to Marvin Vettori and just end up losing a tit-for-tat decision on damage. Marvin's durable, guys. He's always willing to throw. He's got great cardio, and I just see him winning a close decision win in this one. I'm actually going to say he wins a split decision as an underdog here. Brendan Allen just doesn't trust his hands enough for me. He actually does have a decent 1-2 down the pipe and very solid fundamentals, but I guess he's truly not comfortable firing away on the feet and always is looking to get the fight to the ground anyway. Marvin Vettori is the pick here, but I think this fight's going to be very, very close. Moving on to Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira, and I feel pretty confident in this pick. I'm going to put it in my confident picks list. Vinicius Oliveira by KO or decision seems like a pretty certain outcome to me here. What he showed in his fight with Said Nurmagomedov was so insane to me. The drive, the endurance, the willingness to push on and throw punches, the takedown defense, the scramble ability. The dude's insanely technical and exciting as a prospect. And if you haven't seen my video on the most exciting fighters in the UFC, you should for sure definitely go and check it out, by the way. But I did put Vinicius Oliveira as my #1 most exciting fighter at the bantamweight division. He's the full package, guys. I think Kyler Phillips is going to struggle to get down and control Vinicius Oliveira in this fight. And when he's left on the feet with Oliveira, I think he's going to get put away at some point by KO. I really think it's more likely a KO than a decision win. And like I said, even if he doesn't find that KO, I really do think the decision win will be completely reasonable as a pick as well. If Vinicius Oliveira loses to Kyler Phillips, I'd be pretty surprised in my opinion. Like, just look at this guy, guys. This guy looks like he should be smoking a joint in the back of the mystery machine with Shaggy and Scooby-Doo, if you know what I'm saying, guys. Like, look at this guy's hair. I'm being a little stupid here, but I'm going to go with Vinicius Oliveira to get it done in this one. Moving on to the main card opener, Michael Johnson versus Daniel Zellhuber. And before I say this prediction, guys, if you're liking the content and you are enjoying this video, please leave a like or subscribe, or both. If you're not already supporting the channel, I appreciate you guys for liking the video and subscribing in general. I appreciate the support on the videos just as of recent as well. I'm really trying to eventually get the channel bigger and bigger. I would love to keep doing these videos. But to get back to the predictions, why the fuck are these odds so wide? I really was thinking about going with Michael Johnson by KO here, just seeing the odds. But the odds will make me think I'm just like an absolute dumb fuck if I pick Michael Johnson, because Zellhuber's a -700 favorite in this matchup. And as hard as he is to beat to a decision with how much output he has, The dude gets hit so fucking much, it's unreal, and I guarantee you, this fight is going to get scrappy at some point, and Michael Johnson still hits so hard, and he's still so quick for his age, probably one of the fastest hands on a 39-year-old human being I have ever seen. Got to give it to him, he's always had fast hands. This is a close one for me, guys. I think highly likely this ends in a finish for either guy. If it does go to decision, I probably do favor Daniel Zellhuber just because of his activity level and the fact that he is long and rangy, and I expect him to land a lot of kicks in this fight. But truly, it is anybody's fight in those scrappy exchanges. Daniel Zellhuber is really durable though, so he could probably survive a couple of really big shots from Michael Johnson. He really showcased in his fight with Esteban Ribovic how durable he really is, and just his ability overall to recover and battle back from adversity. I also think he's going to have an edge in the technique department, and if he does stay at range a bit more, that would be a very smart game plan move and cause a lot of issues for Michael Johnson. I'm done sort of arguing with myself back and forth here. I'm going to pick Daniel Zellhuber to win this fight, but I just want you to know, if Michael Johnson somehow flatlines him in a scrappy exchange, I'm not fucking surprised, guys, because he does get hit quite a lot in his fights. I'm going to say Daniel Zellhuber wins this fight by TKO in the later rounds or decision win. That's my official prediction for this fight. Moving on to Dan Ige versus Patricio Pitbull. I was going to say Patricio Pitbull. What is this, a fitness instructor? What am I saying? I'll probably take this out of the video. Anyway, Patricio Pitbull versus Dan Ige. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I called the Yair Rodriguez fight against Patricio Pitbull absolutely dead on, and I'm pretty sure I said that Pitbull has shown an insane drop in output and he will most likely get outdone for 2 or 3 rounds of that fight, and the man has clearly slowed down, and now is not the time to come to the UFC in my opinion. I have a feeling that Dan Ige is going to put a stamp on that fact in this fight and KO Patricio Pitbull. That's personally how I see it going. Dan Ige is as impossible to finish as any other fighter I've ever seen fight in the octagon. He's never lost by finish. He's extremely durable. He's heavy-handed. It's a very bad matchup for Patricio in my opinion. Dan Ige by KO, maybe in the first 2 rounds. That's what I think happens. They're going to clash at some point in this fight, and when they do, Ige will get the better of the exchanges by delivering more impactful and damaging shots. That's what I believe, guys. I don't see Patricio Pitbull winning this fight by decision at all, just due to his lack in output. So his only real chance is to win by KO, and like I've already stated, it's hard to see him KOing Ige. Ige's the pick. I might put a bet on him as well because I think the odds are not too bad on Dan Ige. Moving on though to the feature fight of the card, Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Now, I did doubt Kevin Holland, guys. I did pick Vicente Luque over Kevin Holland in his last fight, and I don't think it was a terrible underdog pick, but Kevin did look a lot better than I thought he would. He's been showing the fans that he's a hard guy to take on in the welterweight division. No more messing around, no more middleweight, full focus on the welterweight division, which is good for him. He will continue doing his best work here, and I think he continues it in this fight against Daniel Rodriguez. I think it's going to be a close one on the feet early, a few jabs and kicks here or there, a bit of a tit for tat type of fight. Then it's going to end up kicking off with big exchanges, and I think that's where Kevin is going to get the better of Daniel Rodriguez. I think Kevin's got great placement with both hands. He's got a fantastic right straight, and Daniel Rodriguez is just so open to right hands, man. He's completely open from that right hand from the left side to me. Fighting from the southpaw stance, he relies so much on his ducking and head movement to avoid those shots, and he keeps his guard way too low. He got clipped way too many times in his last fight with Ponzinibbio for me personally. I think we see a first or second round KO for Kevin Holland in this matchup. Kevin is more durable. Kevin will also have the massive height and reach advantage in this fight, and I honestly think Kevin is a little more precise with his boxing than Daniel Rodriguez. This should be a fun fight though, but it's hard for me to see Kevin losing this one, and I'm actually going to add him to my confident picks list. Moving on to the co-main event of the evening, Paulo Costa versus Roman Kopylov. And this is a great fight. I love this matchup. I think it's a very important fight for Kopylov because this is an opponent with some solid name value. It's an opponent that will be very beatable for him as well, in my opinion. He will be the more technical guy in the striking, and I think he should dominate Paulo Costa with his kicks and speed from range. To give Paulo credit though, he's been losing some fights to absolute killers in the division, so it's not a shame to have all the losses that he has of recent, and I thought he looked actually really good in his last fight against Sean Strickland. But the thing is with Paulo Costa, And this is a very important fact, and I'm sure people will agree with me here. He never really fights the way you want him to fight, at least for the whole fight. He's got a bunch of fantastic attributes, but he just isn't the smartest cookie when it comes to adjusting in the octagon or making good decisions in general in fights. If he starts losing early and doesn't adjust against someone like Kopylov, I think we're going to see Costa take quite a bit of damage in this matchup, and honestly, I could see Kopylov being able to TKO Costa in this fight, since he does hit decently hard. If Costa can have some forward pressure in this fight and have some solid shot selection similar to his fight with Sean Strickland, I think he could cause some issues for Kopylov and potentially tire him out going into the later rounds of the fight, maybe take over and win later on. But like I said, guys, Costa just never seems to fight how you want him to fight. He likes making some entertaining fights, but it doesn't mean he's always going to win the majority of them. He's very similar to Michael Chandler in that way, although I do think Paulo is a more technical fighter in the striking than Chandler. I'm going to go with Roman Kopylov by decision or late rounds TKO as my official prediction for this fight, but I think this is a hard one to pick. I could see this one being a very close fight in the end if Paulo looks good early. Now for what everyone watching this card has been waiting for, including myself, the main event, Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier 3, and I cannot wait for this fight. As bad as it sounds though, I feel like I would have preferred the trilogy with Gaethje compared to this one, but this is still good, guys. I'm going to enjoy it nonetheless. These boys have fought 2 times now, with their last fight being one of the funnest back and forth scraps you could watch. Obviously, their first encounter was so long ago, it's hard to really count that one as even a fight of theirs. They are both completely different fighters now. Holloway was literally making his UFC debut against an 11-1 Dustin Poirier, which is insane to think about, honestly. And now the question is, do I see the fight going similar to their last fight? And I think the answer that I'm coming to is no, honestly, and that might be sad to hear for some Dustin fans, and you can probably tell where I'm going with just by that sentence. But Dustin, in my opinion, has very visibly slowed down. He is nowhere as fast twitch as he used to be. I just think he's looking stiffer as well, and just stiffer and stiffer with each passing fight. And I know, guys, he did amazing against Islam Makhachev. Fantastic. I'm not saying he still can't win fights at a high level, but I can't help but notice these things, guys. I also think when you look back at the fight between him and Max those 6 years ago, you will realize how competitive that fight really was. I used to hate hearing people say that Dustin clearly won that fight. It wasn't that competitive. I don't know what people were talking about. I will say that I think it was a clear win for Dustin, but I don't think that means the fight wasn't close or wasn't competitive. Even back then, Dustin was having trouble keeping up with the pace of Max Holloway, so much so he was trying to take breaks multiple times by clinching against the fence in rounds 3, 4, and 5. Go watch the fight back, guys. You'll see what I'm talking about. Max was landing the way better combinations in that fight, in my opinion as well. Not to say Dustin wasn't throwing some solid combos, he was. But to me, it was really just the power difference that was getting to Max, with him getting hurt multiple times in that fight. I really do think this fight is going to be different. I believe Max's chin is still solid. I'm not worried after the loss to Topuria because I believe that Ilya, he's basically just special at this point when it comes to power and timing his shots. I also think that the experience is actually going to be a really good thing for Max because Dustin's not going to be anywhere near as technical as Ilya. He's not going to be a better boxer. He's not going to be more powerful. He's not going to be faster. Like I said, he's not going to be more technical. And we saw how competitive that fight between Max and Ilya was not long ago. I believe that Max has gone up 1 to 2 full levels since his last fight with Dustin, and I only really see Dustin declining in my opinion. I think Max will look better at 155 this time around. He showed how much better he can look physically and technically in his last fight with Justin Gaethje at 155, and if we even see something similar to that Max Holloway that fought Justin Gaethje, I think Max wins this fight clearly in my opinion. For some reason though, my brain keeps trying to tell me this fight ends by finish early on, but I don't know where that's coming from, guys. It might just be some sort of hunch, I guess, but if I go based on my pure technical pick and a pick I've thought through, I will say that I'm going to be picking Max Holloway to win this fight by 49-46 decision victory or maybe a later rounds KO. It's hard to see him TKOing Dustin for me though, so I really do think this fight does go to decision. The only way I see a KO for Max is if it's like a one-shot KO, similar to Justin Gaethje's KO over Dustin Poirier. So my official prediction is Max by decision. And I'll say this as well, guys, just to add on a little like Larry fact for you guys here. I actually wasn't the biggest fan of Dustin for a while. I always loved his fight style, don't get me wrong. But I just didn't like the dude. It was sort of hard to explain to me, but he has grown on me over the years, and I wish him well regardless of what happens this weekend. I wish him well in his retirement, and I will be singing along to the walkout music for the last time. That's my prediction for the main event, guys, and that wraps up my full card predictions and breakdown for the entire UFC 318 Holloway vs Poirier 3-fight card. If you guys have any thoughts or any questions for me regarding the card, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll do my best to respond to every single comment left in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.